Okay. So first thing here, as you can see, I have a CSS file with style, which is empty. Of course, I'm not going to do the CSS. I already did the CSS, so I'm going to copy paste it. After that, in the source, I have one file, which is called index.js. In my HTML, as you can see, I'm just linking my CSS here, and I'm linking my JavaScript here. And if I go to my live server here, as you can see, I have hello world, so my JavaScript file is being connected correctly. So what I'm trying to do, well, I'm trying to build a calculator here. So maybe the title here, I can just change it to calculator. Voila, that's the first thing. The second thing, now normally for the calculator, it will be a good idea. So what will be my design for this project? I want to do something like that. Let's say that's my page. I just want to have a title here. So let me do this one. Just a title calculator. And after that, I will have my calculator like that. Something like that. And inside it, I will have different buttons. So let's say that's button 1, and duplicated, that will be button 2, and so on. Voila. Something like that. And I think there's 4 buttons here in one line for the calculator at least. So maybe I can just duplicate it again. Voila. And then, of course, this guy here, I just need to repeat them 4 times or 5 times, depending on the calculator. Is the idea clear? Yes. So first, we need to build the title here. And my question for you here, do you think the title should be static or should be dynamic? In another word, do you think I should create the title inside my HTML or inside my JavaScript?
Dynamic with the JavaScript.
So yes, the title should be inside the HTML because it's static is never going to change. So it's a good idea to include my title here so I can create a header. Inside the header, I can create an H1. And here I can just say, for example, calculator or my calculator. It's really depending what you're going to name your project. That's not a problem here. The second thing, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create like a container, or I'm going to create a div. So let me create a div here, div, and I give it a class. Let's name it calculator, for example, calculator, like that. Voila. Inside this div, I will have 2 stuff. I will have the display, and I will have a div to put all my buttons. What do I mean by that? Well, the display here, actually, I forgot the display. Let's say that the title here is up. And normally here in the calculator, I should have something like that. And it will show me the different number. So that will be the display. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to create my display because my display is also static. It's never going to change. I can create it inside my HTML. And the container for my button, I can create it inside the HTML. Other than that, all the button, everything else, I should create it dynamically in my JavaScript. Is the idea clear? Yes.
Yes.
So let me create a div with, we'll name it ID display. Display like that. Display. And I can also give it a class display. So let me copy this one, put it here. So this div here, it will be the display here. It will be my screen where I see the numbers here, I'll put them here. Now I need to create a div to put all my button here. So I can just say div, also with ID, let's give it buttons, which will include all my buttons here. And I can also give it a class buttons for my CSS. So let me copy those, voila. And like that, my HTML should be over. I should not add anything else. The rest, I should create it dynamically inside my JavaScript. So again, I just have header, it's static. Now here, it will be my calculator here. This div, it will include all my calculator here. Inside my calculator, I have the display where I'm gonna show the different number when the user click on the buttons. And here I have a container, which will include all the buttons. But of course, here, I'm not gonna create my button inside the HTML. I need to create them inside JavaScript. So the first question here, I will put my HTML inside, and I will put my JavaScript here. I need somehow, when I'm building a project, I know you didn't study the DOM yet, but to do any project, you need to know a little bit DOM at least. So I need somehow to select this element inside my JavaScript. Why? Because if I have any result, anything, I need to show it inside this display. And also I want to select these buttons. Why? Because when I create my button in JavaScript, I need to add them here inside this container. So how can I select a button or any DOM element here? So I have this DOM element with ID display, this DOM element here, which is a div, of course, with ID buttons. I want somehow to select them inside my JavaScript. So what should I do? Let me get rid of those. Yeah.
With the document, I don't know.
Yes. Yeah? So let's try to log the document. What do you think the document is? What do you think the document is? Again, what is the document?
I think that is something who help to read the elements from HTML in Java. No.
It's JavaScript, is not Java. So if I hover over
JavaScript, sorry.
If I hover over the document, what can I see? So if I'm hovering over the element, what will happen to my page?
The HTML document?
Yes, so the document actually, it's my page, as you can see. And now in JavaScript, the document is an object, as you can see here. So I see it's simply my HTML here, as you can see. Voila. So the document is my page here. Of course, the document is a big object, which include a lot of method and a lot of property as well. This document object exists on the window object. So if I go to window like that, you remember what the window is, the biggest object in JavaScript. So if I go windows.document, and voila, as you can see, I see my document, voila. So the document also exists on the window object, which is the biggest object in JavaScript. So I can use this document to select some DOM element, to add some styles, to add classes, to add whatever I want to. Is the idea clear? So all the time to select any element from my HTML, we don't call it HTML anymore because the HTML, when it's in the browser, we just call it DOM. So to select any element inside my DOM here, any element I want, I need to use this document here. So let's go and try to select the first element, which is display. So how can I do it? Well, simply I can just type document like that, dot, and as you can see, I have a lot of method. Now, one of these methods you need to know now here is called get element by ID. And as the method suggests here, if you hover over the method, it will tell you it's a method. It returns a reference to this selective the DOM element. So what it's going to do here, as you can see, it will return me the DOM element if it exists. If it does not exist, it will return me null. So now I can just say get element by ID, and here I need to pass the ID. What is the ID of the element I want to select?
Display.
Display, so I need to pass it as a string, voila. And now here, that will be my element simply. So that's my DOM element here. That will be this element like that. What you need to understand also, each DOM element is an object in JavaScript. And when I say object, that means it has a lot of method and property. Okay, so I've selected my DOM element here, which will be this div with ID display, but now I need to use it. In order to use it, I need to store it in a variable. So maybe I can just say const, what should we name it? Display. Let's just name it display. It's equal to document.getElement by ID. And actually, if I log this display here, it will give me the element I want to. So let's log display and see. So as you can see, that's the display here. It's a div with ID display, also with class display. And as I told you, any DOM element in JavaScript, it's an object. So as you can see, it's an object with a lot of property. Voila. You don't have to remember this property here for now. I will just teach you one property or two for now, and later on, not in the next module, the module after, we'll learn it in details. So that's how we select a DOM element actually. That's one way, of course. So I can just say documents, that means my page, get me this element with this ID. And I'm not passing any hashes or stuff like that. No, because this method, as you can see, it's already know that I'm gonna pass an ID. Now, this method, it will return either a DOM element the DOM I'm trying to, or the element I'm trying to select, or if it cannot find an element with this ID, it will return me null. Is the idea clear?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That should be fine. I also want to select the buttons here container. So in order to do so, I can just copy the ID and do the same exactly. So I can create a variable, just a const buttons or buttons container, whatever you want to. And I can just say document.get element by ID. And here is the ID, it will be button. And like that, I've selected both my elements, this element and this element here, which is good. That's for now, it's fine. Now, if I have a look at my HTML, as you can see, currently I have nothing really. So if I inspect, I just have nothing. So I need somehow to create a different buttons and somehow put them inside this guy here, this element, which is this div with ID buttons, which I already selected, this guy here. So how can I do that? Any idea? How can I create different button in JavaScript? Yes? Any idea what should I do?
Create an element?
Yes, but the problem here is I need to create a lot of buttons. I need first to know what will be the structure of the button. So
With
if
a
I'm going
function?
I'm sorry?
Creating a function, no?
No. First, before I create a function, before I create an element, I need to know how many buttons I need to create. So somehow I need something. I need some data structure to put all my element inside and somehow loop through them.
Like an array?
Yes, like an array. So I can just say const. Not here. So what I can do here, I can just say const. I will name it data. It's equal to an array, like that. Now, normally in the calculator, how many rows do we have? So the calculator, if I go back to this guy here, so we have different rows. That's row 1. Each row here is consists of 4 buttons. So that will be row 1, and then I could have row 2, like that, like that, like that.
4 rows?
Yeah, so I will need 4 rows. And each row, remember, each row I need to put it inside one div for styling, because if they are not inside one div, it will be difficult for me to style them. So my idea here is I want to create, so my row here, it include four element here, and each row I need to put it inside one HTML element. So how can I do that?
Each row will put in some array.
So each row, it will be an array. So what I can
Yeah.
do here, I can now make it 7 like that. Voila, 8, 9, and division like that. And voila, that will be structure of my data. So that will be the first row. That will be the second row. That will be the third row. That will be the first row or the fourth row. I can add more if I want to later on. But that will be my data. Now, you may ask me, why did I put array inside an array? Again, because this array, it will include, the first array here, it will include all my data. But then again, when I create my calculator, these 4 bottom here need to go inside one div. So they should be separated. This one also should be separated, and each row should be separated. And that's the reason why I put each row also inside an array. So that is my data, actually. And now it will be easy for me to create the button because I have an array. As we know, can we loop through an array or not?
Yes.
Can we? Of course. And that's the reason why I created an array. Because when I have my data, just like an array, it will be now easy for me to loop through my data and create whatever I want to. If I am not creating this data structure, I need to create each element separately. And as you can see, I have like 20 elements. And to create 20 elements, I will have a lot of code. And that's not how we do in programming. I need to repeat myself all the time. And in programming, that's not a good idea.
Also, we will make an value for each index for control. Can control it or no?
Yes, of course. Yes.
Okay.
So again, in any project you're gonna start or you're gonna build, first you need to think of your data. So we start first with the data. You need to know how your data look like. That's super important. Now, in most cases, the data, it will come in from the server. So your data, either it will be an object with a lot of property, or it will be an array with a lot of property. And now, depending on what I want, what do I want here? Well, I can somehow, because this one is array, I can loop through the first array. And remember, I have a second array inside. Now I can loop again through this array here, this array. So I need to loop how many times? How many times I need to loop?
Four
time.
times.
Two times. So let's try to loop the first time. Of course, here, as we know, for the array, we can use for loop, we can use for of loop. But what you don't know, we also can use something called for each. So what is for each? Well, for each is one of the method belong to the array, which we didn't study yet. We need to study it in the next module. That's the reason why I told you it's not a good idea to build a project, because you still need to learn a lot of stuff. But anyway, so let's go to for each. On one hand, we're gonna learn how for each works. And the other way here, it will be easier as for us. It will be the easiest way to implement for each. I can use for loop, I can use for of loop, but let's go with for each. So how does for each works? So first I need to type the name of my array. What is the name of my array? What is the name of my array?
Data.
Data. And if I say dot, notice all these method and property exist on the array. What I want for each. For each, it's simply just like for loop. It will loop through each item inside my array here. So let's say for each, voila, like that. Voila. So for each is the method, so I need parentheses like that. We need to understand here for each, take a function as a parameter. So here I need to pass a function. That's how for each works. So let me pass an arrow function. So I'm going to pass an arrow function like that. Voila, that's my arrow function. Again, how for each works? Well, for each, it's one of the array method. Remember, I cannot use it with anything else. I need to use it with arrays that belong to the array. So I can use it only with array. For each, take a function as a parameter. So it does not take number, it does not know, it take a function. And that's the reason why I pass an arrow function here. Now, when I pass a function, by default, I will receive the item here, this item, this item, this item, and this item. So for each is gonna loop 4 times. Why 4 times? Because inside my array here, I have 4 items, 1, 2, 3, and 4, as you can see. So this for each now, it will loop 4 times. What should I name this one? What should I name each item here? What a good naming it will be for this item here?
Maybe row 1
Just row.
or just row.
Just row. And now what I'm going to do here, I'm gonna log the row just so you can see the different row. So let's log row. So that's all I'm going to do for now, just now. So as you can see, I'm putting my array here for each. I told you for each take a function as a parameter, and that's my function, arrow function. And it will receive by default this item here. You can name it whatever you want to, but I just name it here row. Why? Because it's actually a row for my calculator. Now, if I go to my console and notice what will happen here. So as you can see, voila. So it looped 4 times. Why 4 times? Because I have 4 items inside my array. And I just name them row. You can name them whatever you want to. The name doesn't matter really. But it makes sense to name it row because actually it is a row. So as you can see, each row here, it logs the first row, which is an array, 7, 8, 9 division, 4, 5, 6 multiplication, and that's the third one, that's the fourth one. So I managed to loop through my first array here, which is okay. Now I told you for each row, now here it will loop through this one, it will loop through this one, it will loop through this one, it will loop through this one. But I told you each row here should be inside one HTML element, right? So what should I do here? Now here I am inside my row, as you can see. What should I create here? What should I create?
Make an empty element for
So I can create
element variable.
I can create a row container. A row container, it will be just HTML element where I put the row here, each row inside this one. So what I can do here, I can just say const. Let's just name it row. Row, it will be fine. And now actually, because yes.
Sorry, I don't understand what what does that for each?
But for each, just loops through your array.
Just that. Okay.
It just loops through your array. That's my array. So that's my array. It will loop through all my item inside the array. That's what it's just like for loop or like for each loop. Yes?
Yes.
So now I need to create an element. Let's just name it row element. And here we need to learn how can we create an element inside JavaScript. So to create a DOM element inside JavaScript, I need to start again with the document, because document is my page. I can just say document dot create element. So we have a function called create element. And remember, I cannot just pass any element I want to like that. No, it must be an HTML element, or it must be an HTML tag. So I can only create HTML element. I can create H1, I can create H2, I can create whatever I want to if it is an HTML tag. If it's not, it will not work. Here, I just want to create a div. Voila, that's all I want. So now I am looping through each row inside my array. And for each row, I am creating a div. Why I'm creating this div? Well, because simply I want to add my button inside this div here. So for this guy here, so I'm looping the first time, I am creating my div, and later on, I need to create my button and put them inside this div. It will be the same for each iteration. So the second time also, I will go here, that will be my item, and then I'm gonna create a new div element. Same for the third element, I'm creating a new div element. Same for the fourth element, also I'm creating a new div. It will be very clear when I show you now. Okay, that's fine, that's okay. But what I want to do here, well, I want to append. Now I created my element, but I cannot see my element here. So if I check, well, I don't have my element here. Where is it? I cannot find it. Well, when we're dealing with the DOM, we just create your element. Your element not magically will be added to the DOM, to the page. You need to ask JavaScript, put this element inside this element. Otherwise here, yes, I've created the element, but I will not see it. I need specifically to tell JavaScript, put this element inside, for example, buttons here. So what I'm going to do here, and now I need somehow to put this element inside these buttons. So how can I do that? Well, it's quite simple as well. I can just say buttons dot append, and append is going to do, append is going to take this element, which is DOM element, row element, and it will put it inside the buttons here. And now, if I go to my HTML and notice here what I have. So inside the bottom, as you can see now, I have 4 divs. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4. Why do I have 4 divs? Why I'm having
4 row?
Because
I have 4 row.
Yes, because for each here is looping 4 times.
For each row,
yes.
You have 1 div.
Yes. So my data has 4 items, 1, 2, 3, 4. That means when I say data for each row, that means it will loop 4 times. But now I have my divs here. It's very ugly, as you can see. I need to add a class to them. Maybe it will be nice to add a class row, for example. How can I add a class to an HTML element here, which I create in JavaScript? Any idea how can I add a class to it? Because I need a class.
We'll go to HTML and adapt that. Or not allow.
Of course, you are not allowed because you don't have it here. How can? Your
I can see
HTML.
it right now.
Where is it?
So we will see the 4 div only in script, not in HTML file.
Yeah, but no, that's your HTML file. You will see nothing in your HTML file. You will see just this guy here. You will see it in your browser. So what's going on here? When we create an element, we are manipulate the DOM. You only see it in your browser because here we are not adding elements to the HTML. HTML here, static page, is never gonna change. What's gonna change here is the DOM is gonna change. Your HTML in the browser is gonna change. So I have 4 divs, as you can see, and I need somehow to manage to add a class to each div. But how can I do that? Any idea? Well, it's super simple. I can take my element here, row element, and I can just say dot class list. Class list, it will allow me to add multiple classes. So if I say class list dot, as you can see, I have add, I have remove, and so I can add a class, I can remove a class, depending on what I want. I can just say simply add. And here I'm gonna add a class row, as you can see. That's how we add a class, as you can see. So I'm taking my element, class list dot add, because we have multiple function here. We have add, we have remove to remove classes, and I'm adding here my class, and I will name it just row. If I go to my HTML now, I click on that, I click on that, I click on that, as you can see. Now I have 4 divs, and each one of them has a class row, and that's what I want. Yes?
Yes.
We must add this line before button append.
Oh, yes. Yes. So normally we add all our stuff, all our manipulation, and at the end we append it. But our job is not finished. Why? Because yes, I have 4 rows, 1, 2, 3, 4.
In the same
Now,
name class.
yes, now I need somehow to create my bottom, and I need to create 4 bottom and add it to here, the first row. And I want to create these 4 buttons and add it here to the second one, and so on and so on and so on. So I have no other way. I need to loop again. So how can I loop again? Any idea how can I loop again?
We will loop again with the index length for
With?
catch each index length with a length for the array for can catch each button.
Yes, but we have just learned a new method here. This
Hmm.
one, what is the row? The row is an array, right?
Yeah.
So I can loop through it again using for each if I want to. So what I can do here, I can go here. I can go in this line here, and now I can loop again. So I can just say row. Remember, row is an array. So I can use for each again. And now I told you, what does for each take as a parameter?
Row?
What? No, what does for each take as a parameter? What does
Function.
Yes,
Function.
it take a function. So here I'm gonna pass my function as an arrow function, voila. And of course, this guy here, as I told you, this function, it will receive 1 item. What should I call 1 item inside this array? So only 1 item. What should I call 1 item inside this array? Maybe
Row.
button? No, that's a row.
Yeah.
Row is an array. And now I'm looping inside the row, so I will have this one. This one.
Button.
Dot length.
So let's name it button data.
Button dot length. Or okay.
Button or button data. You can name it whatever you want to. Let's try to log the button data now.
To rename.
Yeah. So let's go here, and if I log the button data, notice now I have 7, 8, 9. It's division 4 now. It's logging all my button, as you can see. So I loop the first time. That's the first time I looped, and it gave me a row, but row is an array. And now I'm looping the second time. I'm looping through this array row, and now it will give me each item here. And now that's the reason why I have each item. Now, because I have each item, what should I create now? So I have the button data. For each button data, what should I create? Yes. For each button here, what should I create?
Data type.
I'm sorry?
We need now control each button, so I don't know.
Yes, but what should I create? And now I'm trying to build a calculator here. So when I have a calculator, I should see something here. What should I do for each guy here?
ID.
I think
Value.
value any element, a variable where we can store some values. At least we can plus minus like this, and we need some variables that data types here we can store.
You are not thinking. You are not thinking.
Just buttons.
Yes, I just need buttons. So as you can
Buttons,
see in
yes.
each row, I need buttons here. So I need to create a button now. So how can I create a button? Now we learn how to create a div. How can I create a button? How can I create a button? So I can just say const button or button element. It's equal to, how can I create a button?
Create element and button.
Same idea here. It will be the same, but here I just need to change the element from div to button. Voila. It's not difficult. Voila. So I've created my button. Now if I go to my DOM here, I don't see any buttons actually. What's the problem? So as you can see, I don't see any button. Where are my buttons? I don't see any buttons. Why?
Because we didn't make append for the button.
Yes, we create the button, but we did not append it. Now, where should I append the button?
Inside for each row dot for each.
So I need to
No,
put it inside the.
Not here. Inside
Where?
inside the button data.
Button data is our data. It doesn't make sense. I can only append
Because
to a DOM.
we need make for button when the loop going on, because
but that's for button here. This loop is running 4 times. It creates 4 buttons. But where should I add this button? When I create 4 buttons, where I should put them?
row inside the row.
Yes, I need to put them inside the row. Which one is my row element? This one.
Yeah, this
So
one.
all I have to do now, I need to put it inside. So just do append button. Voila. And I will use append. I will not use append child. Voila. Now if I go to my guys here, as you can see, I have 4 buttons here. 1 button, 2 buttons, 3 button, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I have my buttons. As you can see, if I go inside row, now I have 4 buttons. This row, I have 4 buttons. This row, I have 4 buttons. This row is 4 buttons. But of course, now the button, I need to give it a class, and also I need to put something inside the button. So what should I give it a class? What should be the class I give it to my button? I can give it a class btn, for example. How can I add a class to my button? How can I add a class to my button? It's the same. I'm just repeating here.
As the same we make
btn
with div
class list dot add button. And now here, if I go to my buttons, as you can see, each button has a class now btn. As you can see, btn. That's okay, but now I need to put something inside my button. And this something here, it will be my data, because my data, it will be 7, 8, 9 divisions. I want to put this value here inside the button. How can I put it inside the button? How can I put some text or some data inside my button element? Well, I need to just say button. I need to select my element dot inner text. An inner text method here, it will allow me to put the data here inside my button. So btn dot inner text, and it's equal to btn data. And now here, if I go here, as you can see, I have 7, 8, 9, division 4, 5, 6, and well, I have all my button I want to. Yes? Yes, no?
Yes.
You asked me to do a project. I don't want you to do a project now because I am 100% sure you are not ready. You asked me we want to do a project to practice. Okay. So again, I'm going to repeat it and debug it again, but now let's just try to complete our exercises. Now, what do I want to do? Well, I created my button, as you can see. I've added a class to my button. I put a text inside my button. That's btn inner text, and that's that button data here. I've appended my button inside the row, which everything is fine. My calculator is almost done here, but I just need to know when I click on the button, I want to do something, of course. So now when I'm clicking on the button, it's doing nothing.
no action.
No action. So how can I add action to my button? Well, in JavaScript, this action here, what we are doing on the bottom, we are clicking on the bottom, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's what we call an event. So in order to add event to my bottom, I can simply go to my bottom, just say btn dot add event listener. And what is the event I'm trying to add? It's click. Again, btn, that's my bottom. I'm adding an event. What are events? Events, anything the user can do. For example, hover, for example, click, for example, double click, for example. So we have a lot of events in JavaScript. The event I want now here is click. That means when I click on the button. So what do I want to do when I click on the button? Well, add event listener, this method here, it takes two parameters. The first parameter is the string. It will be what is the event. And here, as you can see, we have all these events in JavaScript, all of those. For now, I just want to click. That means when I click on the button, what do I want to do? What I want to happen? Well, what will happen here, I need to pass a function as a second parameter. So let's pass function here. And here I'm going to pass an arrow function. Voila. So that's how add event listener work. Add event listener, if I hover over it, as you can see, it will tell me, of course, it's explaining what this method is doing. What this method is doing here, take two parameters. The first parameter is whatever the event is. And the second one, it will be function. And this function, it will be executed only when this event happens. What's that supposed to mean? Well, let's try to log here in the function. Let's try to log clicked. For now, let's just try to log clicked like that. Now, each time I click on a button, this function, it will be logged here. This function, it will be triggered. Why? Because I'm saying here, I'm adding this event, btn add this event. Whenever the user click, I want you to execute this function. So now let's go to our buttons here. And if I click on button 70, it's telling me it's being clicked. Button 8, clicked. Button 9, 3 times being clicked. And now, as you can see, the event is working. My event is working. Whenever I click on any button of those, it's being clicked. But I don't really want to console.log clicked. I want to console.log the value. So how can I console.log the value? What is the value I want to log? It will be my button data. Because my button data, it will include, it will be this one here. Either it will be 7. If I'm clicking on the button 7, it will be 8 or 9. It will be a division here. So my button data here, it's what I want to. So now I'm logging button data, refresh. Let's click on 7. See, it gives me 7. If I click on 8, see, it gives me 8. If I click on 9, it gives me 9. If I click on division, it gives me division. 4, it gives me 4, and so on and so on and so on, as you can see. Whenever I click on any buttons, it will log my button data here. Is the idea clear so far?
Yes.
Yes.
I hope so. Now, what do I want to do? Well, I need to now to add some logic to my function here. This is not a good place. Why? Because I already have a lot of code and I don't want to add more code. So a good idea here, it will be to create my function here. So let me create my function, and my function, I can name it click. Click because it's a verb handler. Why? Because it handles a click. Voila. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to call this function here. I'm going to delete this one. I'm going to call my function here. And remember, I want something here. So when I call the function, I want to pass something here, which will be button data. Let's put my button data inside this function. So I'm calling the function here. Here I'm creating my function. That means this function, it will be receiving button data. And now here, if I log button data here, it will be the same. There is no difference here. I can put the function here, or I can put it separately, but separately, it's much better. Now, because I am creating my function here and I'm calling my function here and I'm passing button data, it will simply just log button data. So let's go here, refresh. It's still doing the same job, as you can see. It's just, instead of putting my function here, I'm just putting it separately. That's okay, that's not bad. But why did I create function declaration? Why I did not create arrow function? Any idea why?
Because it's you can use it anywhere?
No, as you can see here, this code, it will be executed first. Then this code, it will be executed. So when I'm calling my function or whatever this click handler here, maybe, well, the idea here when I'm calling this function here, as you can see, this code above and this one here is down. If you remember, I told you with function declaration, I can call the function even before I declare the function, right? Yes. So
Yes.
this function here is being hoisted. That means I can call my function before I declare it or after or here. I can call it in any place. Why? Because it's a function declaration. That's the reason why I make it function declaration. Or maybe I can create my function at the top and I can make it arrow function. I don't want to create it at the top. I want to create it at the bottom. And it's a good idea to go with function declaration because I can call it in any place. If it's an arrow function and I call it before, it will give me an error. But with function declaration, it doesn't matter. I can even call the function before the declaration. Okay, that's fine. So what do I want to do now? Well, I want somehow when the user click on 7,
The conditions.
so 7 and then 8, I want somehow to concatenate both of those. So to concatenate both of those, I need a variable. So I can just declare a variable here and I can name it result, for example. So I can just say let result, it's equal to empty string. And now what I can do here in my function here, I need to have different options depending on the button I am clicking on. So if I'm clicking so if the button here, so button data here, let's log it again, log button data. So the button data here could be many things. The button data here could be 7, or it could be 8, or it could be 9, or it could be division or multiplication or minus, or it could be plus, or also could be equal, or it could be 0, or it could be C here for clean. So my button, it will be one of those. Now, the first thing I need to understand here, if my button is C, what should I do here? So if I'm clicking on C here and have a value here.
Clear the start again,
Yes.
or clear.
Yes. What I can do in display, I can add 0 here just in my HTML. So I see 0 here, that's a 0 result here. So what I'm going to do first, I'm going to check if my button is C, is this one clean? I should clean the value. Somehow I should clean the value. So let's go here and I can make my first check here. I can just say if button data or button, whatever you want to, button btn data is equal to equal. So if it's equal, what should I do? Well, let's go for C first. It will be easy. So the C here, capital, is for clean. So I need somehow to clean the value, which will be in display. So how can I do it? Well, it's actually quite simple. I can just say if button data, not button data, this variable here, or this parameter here. If button data, it's strictly equal to C. C is capital because in my data, C is capital, as you can see. So if it's C now, what do I need to do? Well, I need somehow the result or the value I want it to be an empty string. So what should I do? Well, it's quite simple, actually. If that's the case, all I can say here, I can say my result is equal to empty string. And now I need to update this one here because I still have 0 here. So how can I update this guy? Well, this guy is this one display. And now we just learned how can we add something inside an element using inner text. So let's try to use the inner text again. So in order to do so, what I can just say display, go here, and I can just say display dot inner text, it's equal to result. Voila. So now I'm making the result empty string, and then here I'm updating the display. And here I need to stop my function. Why? Because the user click on C, so I need to stop my function. I've cleaned and make the result empty string. I updated. Let me show you. When I click on C, notice what will happen. Click and 0 is gone. Why 0 is gone? Because I am making here the inner text of display, whatever inside the display element, I'm making it empty string. So I'm removing the 0. And that's what I want to when I click on C. Now I want to stop my function. What should I do? How can I stop my function? How can I stop?
With break.
Break.
I cannot use break inside function. I can use break inside loops.
So continue.
No, continue.
Return.
I cannot use
Return.
Yes, I cannot use continue inside function. I can use continue inside loop. So I need to use return. Return mean either return, you can return something, but the return, if I use it alone like that, it will stop my function. And that's what I want to. Because here, if the user click on C, I'm making the result empty string, I'm updating the result here, and that's what I want to stop after that. That's it. I'm returning. That's it. Is the idea clear?
Yes.
Yes, the line 36, I don't understand it.
I'm sorry, Muhammad, what?
36, yeah, display dot.
Just a second. What's the problem?
The line 36, display equal, sorry, display dot index.
Inner text.
I don't see, I don't see your screen, Sam.
You can see my screen now, right?
Yeah, right now, yeah. Yeah, 36 display dot inner text equal result. I
Yes,
don't understand this line.
but we just did it here, as you can see. So it's adds the text inside the element. So what I'm doing here, I now when the user, now by default, if I go to this guy, there is a 0 here in the display. When I click on C, I should remove the 0. How can I remove the 0? Well, all I have to do, I need to select this element, which is called display. That's it. There is 0 inside it. I selected, I've already selected, and now I will say inner text. That means remove this guy and put something inside. That's the inner text. It adds the text inside my HTML element. Yes? Yes or no? Muhammad? Okay, do you know what the inner text is doing now or not?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
let's say that's a div. I don't know why you're complicating the stuff. I told you guys, let's not do the project. You insist on doing the project.
No, everybody.
Div, let's say that's a div here. So inner text mean put some text inside the element here. Well, that's it. I'm putting some text and now I'm putting the result inside this element display. That's what I'm doing. That's what is inner text is doing. Should be
I
clear.
have a question. So here we have inner text, and the other one is inner HTML. So text, that means you can only put text, but in what kind of condition will we put inner HTML?
Yeah, let's learn it later on. Let's not use it now.
Oh, okay.
It is slightly different between inner text and inner HTML, but I don't want to go inside the DOM because still you have one module to finish. It will be after 2 modules. I'm just trying to teach you the minimum so you can do your project only. I don't want to go into details because after, not next modules,
Okay.
after we will study the DOM in detail, okay? Just for now, use
And
inner.
another question. Sorry.
It's okay.
So here we are declaring a variable result. But in this case, displayed that inner text, we can just equal directly to empty string or back to 0. Why do we need a result variable here? Is it because we need it later for other cases?
Yes. So we need it for other cases, actually, yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So now if the button is C, I've handled it. But what if the button is equal? What should I do? So let's say here, if the button is equal, what should I do? So
Give a result.
We will put it in the result. Oh yeah.
I need somehow to do some calculation because the result could be The result could be like that, by the way. When I click on 7, I click on 8, I click on 9, I click on 10. That could be the result, for
I
example.
think console log we will make console log for when the user even put in at equal, it console log the result.
If I click on equal,
Yeah.
it's not console.login. It's console.login is mean putting it here in the console. No, it will just calculate the result.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so we need to some data from user, some click somewhere. At least we have some amount to plus minus like this. Then
Or return.
it press equal like this. So we put condition maybe.
Or return the result.
What result? I still don't have any condition.
When even we have a condition, not right now, I think.
If btn data is equal, what should I do? So let me put my condition here. If btn is equal to btn is equal to equal, now I need to do some calculation here. So what should I do here? Well, first, I need to evaluate the result. Again, I do not know what inside now. It's just because an empty string doesn't mean now it's after that maybe the user click on a lot of button. So when the user click on equal, I need to calculate the result here. And as I told you, the result could be like that, 7 plus 3. So it need to evaluate this value and print 10 here.
Okay, sorry. Yes, yes.
Yeah. So how can I do that? Well, first, what you need to understand is when I'm trying to use, of course, we're going to use eval. This function, there's a function called eval.
So,
and what eval is going to do is trying to evaluate a string, try to convert it to a number and do some calculations. This method is not safe. We normally don't use it. But because you are just starting, I will allow you to use this method for now. So what should I do?
I think we will make a if condition if the user put, for example, 7 plus 8, we will return the result or like that. When he make a multiply or divide it, we will make if else, if else, if else condition. That's right or not?
First, we need to add a try and catch block. Why? Because when I try to use eval, it's not always guaranteed to my code is gonna work. If you remember yesterday, I told you if you are not sure that some of your code is gonna work or not, you can use try and catch. And now that's what I'm doing here. So when my code is working, everything is fine, that's fine. But if I have an error, I want to print error here. In the calculator, I want just to print error. So again, if I have any error happen, it will go to the catch block, and now I put the value of the result error like that. I want to show an error like that for now. Okay, fine. But what if I don't encounter any error? Well, I can evaluate the value here. So I can just say simply, what's the name of the variable? I can just say result. It's equal to eval. That's the function we can use. And here I can pass my result here. Simply like that. So I'm taking the result I have, whatever the result is, and I'm evaluating, I'm using this function. So what this function is doing, it's evaluate JavaScript code and execute it. So it will try to convert your string calculation into number calculation, add them, divide them, multiply them, eval do all of that for you. And then after that, it will return a result for you. And now I need to put this result inside my element here, which is the display. This element, which is called display, I need to put it here. How can I put something inside the display? Well, I've already done it here. So all I have to do, I just need to copy this one and put it here. Voila. And voila, no more, no less. If I have any error here, well, I can still here use this one again. Why I'm using this one? Any idea why? Any idea why I'm using 2 times here?
Well, the first one will give you the right answer, and the second one, in case there's an error, it will throw the error and display it, the error.
Yes, because if my code work, whatever inside this block is going to be executed. But if I encounter any error, this inside this block is going to happen. Simply like that. Or maybe I can make it easy. Instead of putting it here and here, I can simply just put it here down. And here in both cases, it will be appended. Well, now here, the result either it will be the evaluation of the value or it will be error. Then I'm updating the inner text of the result. And now here I need to return like that. I need to stop at the end here. Why? Because either it will give me the result and I'm putting the result inside display, or it will give me an error and I'm putting error inside the display, and that's what I want. I don't want anything else. But what if, okay, what if my button here I'm clicking on, it's not C and it's not equal? What should I do after that? If it's not one of those, what should I do? Maybe I can append it to result. Yes.
Yes, else
Yes.
append the results.
So let's append it to result. I can just say result plus equal button data, and after that I need to update my display inner text, which is equal to this value. Let's go here and try to test it. Refresh. So I can say 7, notice, plus, as you can see, 5, 7 plus 5. Now that will be the value here. That will be the evaluation. If I click on equal, and as you can see, it's giving me 12. So my function actually quite working here. Well, everything is working, as you can see. If I do some calculation for some gibberish stuff, so let me try to refresh it. Let's try to do something not allowed. For example, division by 0. I don't think it will give me an error here. So it doesn't give me error. Actually, it doesn't give me nothing. So what I'm going to do here, maybe, yeah, let me just keep it this way. It's fine. Yeah, that should be fine, actually. For now, that should be fine. Maybe I can make it string as well. To string. How can I make this value string? How can I make this value string? So what eval is going to do here, it will take your string and it will try to make it as a number calculation. At the end, it will give you a number. So for me, what I'm going to do here, I'm going to convert it back to string. It will be better because normally whatever we add inside the HTML element or DOM element, it should be string. I can either use the string function, or you can learn a new method which is called toString. ToString here, it will just convert whatever the value here, which will be a number, whatever value is this function giving me, it will just convert it to string. And that actually should be it, I think. Refresh. 12 divided 2, result here to give me 6. Everything is fine. I can add 0, 0, 0 here. I can add some stuff here, equal, and as you can see, it gives me the error as well. So whenever I'm encountering any error, it will just something not logic. If I cannot evaluate it, it will just give me the error here, which is good. Any idea? Question? 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 Which means you did not understand
No.
anything. No question?
So Sam, when you put inside the row the character plus, so when you try to use it inside the calculator, the computer or the programming the JavaScript understand, okay, we will add the two numbers because we use a plus, bottom plus. So we don't need we didn't need to uh, programming again. When the user put plus, we must add two number and give us the result. That's right. Because you don't make any condition for any button you use it.
You mean here?
Yeah. For example, you are now use the divided button or the plus button. It's directly divided two number and give you the result, the right result. So
Okay, to understand, to answer your question, you need to know how eval works. So how eval works? Eval take a string and notice here, if I say 5 plus 10, notice what eval is going to do to me. It automatically converts this one and it does the operation. If I have something like that, for example, 5 plus 10 multiplied by 10, as you can see, if I do that, eval automatically calculate it for me. So that's the reason why I don't need to check if it's plus or a division or like that. This function eval is automatically evaluates the value for me. Yes? Yes or no?
okay, fine.
Okay, question.
Yeah, I have a question. So here you use toString parentheses. Can you use string parentheses and put eval result inside?
Which line?
41.
41 here.
Yeah.
So as you can see, what does eval return? What does eval return?
The calculation.
Yes, but what it is, what data type?
Number?
Number, of course, because as you can see, it's colored here. So here, what's going to give me, it's give me a number. I can not convert it to a string, but it will be actually better because normally here, when I'm trying to add something inside my HTML, my DOM element, it's a good idea to be stringy. That's the reason here I am waiting for the calculation number, then I'm just converting it to string. And if you don't want to do it this way, you can do it the other way, which is will be like that, string. That's how we convert, that's how we do data conversion, right?
Yes. And what's the difference?
No difference. This one is one method, this is another method. ToString is a little bit old one, it's old method. And the string alone, it's a little bit a new method here. So there is no difference between the two actually. So ToString, it's a little bit old, it's before ES6, and string, it's with the new syntax after 2015 ES6. You can use either.
Okay.
Question?
I have a question about string. So if I want to reuse a result, I should to return it to the number. For example, I get result, and after I want to plus something.
Here you mean?
I got result, for example, 15. 15 now it's a string, yes?
It depends where, because it depends. If you are telling me here, no, here it will be a number, because eval function return me a number. This function return me a number. So if you mean here, no, it will be a number. That's the reason why I make it string. But other than that, it will be string. Yes.
And if I want to add, for example, 7, I should to turn it to the number.
No. Here we are just concatenation. You don't have to turn anything to a number. All of that, it will be string. So this result, it will be something like that. 2 plus 3 plus 6 multiplied by 7. Your result, it will be something like that. It's string here. All of it is string. But when I pass it to eval function calculated, do the calculation for me and give me a number. Only here it make me a number. And after that, I convert it to string again. Other than that, I don't want it to be a number. No, I want everything to be string. Do you understand what I'm saying, Anton, or not?
Yes.
Because this eval function, it's expecting a string.
So eval, it's calculation function.
It's not, it's just it's try to evaluate as a string expression and give you the result. That's what it's doing. So for example, as you can see, I have string here, 5 plus 10. What eval is going to do here, it will convert both of them to number, and it will know which arithmetic operation we are using, and it will give me 15, as you can see. That's what eval is doing. So everything must be stringy here. And when I pass it to eval, it automatically gonna convert it for me and do the calculation for me. Yes? Yes, no?
Yes.
Good. Now what I want to do here actually, in the bottom here, I want if the bottom if it's an operation. So if it's this one, this one, this one, this one, I want to give it another class because I want to style it differently. And if it's equal, I want to give it another class because I want to color this bottom differently. Also, if it's C, I need to color it differently. So in order to do so, what I can do here, I can check my data here, bottom data, because my bottom data, it will give me which bottom I click on. Either 7, either 8, either 9. So what I can do here, I can just put some condition here. I can just say, actually, I can use ternary operator. It would be nice if I can use ternary operator. So maybe I can... let's try. Let's just use here. So what I can do here to use the ternary operator, I can just say if button data like that, btn data, it's equal to. So if my btn data is equal to equal, here, as you can see, I can ask a question, and then here I can add a class equal. Either I'm gonna null, I'm not gonna do anything. That means nothing. So if my button here is equal, I want to add another class, and this class it will be equal because I want to style it a little bit differently. So I'm using here ternary operator, or if you don't like the ternary operator, you can use if. That's fine. Let me use if again, so I not confuse you. So if button data, btn data, it's equal to, first I go to with equality. So if it's equal, I'm gonna add a new class to it. So I can just say button class dot add, as you can see, btn, that's my button, class list add equal. And it will only add this class if the button is equal. I want to do the same for C. So I can just copy this one, paste it here. And I check if the button is C, like that. I want to add a class, and this class, it will be clear. Why? Because I just want to style them differently. I want to add different CSS. That's the reason why. Now also, so if the button is equal, and now let's go to our code now. As you can see, if the button is equal, I have extra class now. Let's inspect. So notice all the button has btn class, but also if it's equal, it has extra class now, which is called equal. If the button is clear, now it has extra class, which is clear. And that's the reason why I have different styles here. I want also to style this operation here, which is division, multiplication, subtraction, and addition. I want to also to color them differently. I want to add a class for them. So in order to do so, I can check here. I can just say if, I can make it multiple condition. So I just say btn, if btn is plus, or btn is minus, or btn is division, or btn is this one here. I want to add a class called operation, simply like that. And now, of course, it will add a class operation only if my button is plus, minus, multiplication, and division. And if I go to those, as you can see, they have different color, as you can see, because I already have the CSS for them. Is the idea clear? What I'm going to do here, I need to just change the style of one button here. So let me go to my CSS. Do I have a button here? Yes, background color padding here. Let's add border as well. So let's add some, some margin. Some margin, it will be okay. Let's just add 5 pixels all around. Should be fine. If I go to my calculator, it's a little bit now better. I want this guy to be in the middle, because normally this guy in the middle, or it's here.
I think normally in the right.
No, it's here, not middle.
Okay,
No.
that's good then. That's fine. So that's simply my simple calculator. As you can see, you can add more condition if you want to. You can make it whatever you want to. But
At
as
left,
you
I
can see
think.
the result, whenever I do that here, and I add plus, it's doing whatever I want. If I click, it will give me the result. If I do some gibberish and I try to do the calculation, it to give me minus here, I can clear it. I can add whatever I want to, blah, blah, blah. Question? Question? Question about the code? Question?
Sam, we are just learn a couple of new things, and we do not have, I think, question. There are a lot of questions, but only one reason we do not have a question, because all these elements, DOM elements, are these on working on JavaScript, are these new elements. Maybe we practice and we get interacted with these the problems, and then we have some questions when we implement this. But right now it's just first time. Whenever you look something, then